We expect to be like that. Sure.
Yeah. Everybody catch up. You close up as much as you can because there's a lot of us on this one. Right, when they've caught up, it's a bit slow at the back. Make me feel bad, eh? Right, if you'd have come down there during the war, the idea that the siren would go off and you'd rush to a tunnel and get underground. Along these tunnels, it's all open at the moment, but during the war there'd be benches all the way along this coming out probably 18 inches. And the idea, the siren would go off, you come down there, you sit on the bench and you might read a newspaper or whatever, and you chat to your friends, you wait till the siren goes off again, and then you go off back upstairs to where you lived. A lot of people, because all that bombing, so many bombs landed on Ramsgate, when people went up, their houses were actually trashed and they got nowhere to live. So instead of all the benches, there was bunk beds just like this initially, all the way along the tunnel for 3.5 miles. You don't get a lot of privacy in the war, but in the war it doesn't matter because you've got two choices. You can be up top and possibly not survive, or you can lay on a lovely old bed like this. But there were loads of beds all the way along. Okay, we're going to move on now. This light thing, we put that in, LED light, but it wasn't lighting during the war, but it probably wasn't this light. Now you can see what these cubicles are for. That's the latest chemical toilet from Elson. You'll be pleased to know, hang on, no, it's okay, it's been cleaned out, it's quite pleasant. There's some nails around the edge of this, there'll be a curtain there. Can you imagine, you know all your personal dignity, there's benches here, there's a bunk bed there, you don't know there, you don't know there, and you've got to sit behind this curtain and do your business. But there's a war on, it doesn't matter. You've got two choices, you can be thrown to pieces or sit on a loo. You know, I wouldn't recommend it now, it's a bit rusty.
Jeez, that's not right, is
Some of these areas, they wouldn't just be for toilets. They used to appoint natural leaders in the community. You imagine you've got thousands of people down there. Somebody that's obvious a leader, they could have a little space there and they'd be looking after this area. So if somebody panics, they've got somewhere to go and say, look, what can they do? There's not a lot you can do with panic when you're in a tunnel, but you know, be somebody there to help them. Yeah. We stop here, let me have a look catch up. Is it fun? It's not the dark bit. Oh, you'll be alright, you've got a torch. You'll be alright, you can use that in a minute. We'll let everybody catch up, otherwise I have to say it 3 times. Are they slow at the back? I bet they're reading all the graffiti.
adding to it.
This way, please. We are going down there in a minute, but you have to wait. Be patient. Trying to go down there first.
Cold.
Are we all here yet?
Yeah.
We're just waiting for that chappie to take a couple of dozen photographs. We're going to go for it. Right, at the moment we're at Arklow Square. Do you know Ramsgate? You know Holy Trinity Church? That's above it. We're not quite sure where it is. It's above us here, and we're probably underneath the road. If you could go up these stairs, this is 90 feet below the ground. The stairs you see is only... How many flights? We've got 5 of these, isn't it? Phil?
The 3 long flights.
Yeah. You see that? It's 3 times as big as that. We're not going up there now because I did it once and it was more than enough. Because because when you get up there, you don't want to come down again, but you haven't got any choice. At the top of this, we put an exit in case of emergency. If anything ever went wrong, we can get out there. We just got to flip a little thingamajig and open it up, and it does work. During the war, a lot of the children, because of all the bombing, would have been evacuated to farms and things, hopefully with their brothers and sisters, and they'd stay there with other people. Because of the access situation, it was decided that a lot of elderly, not being ageist, because I'm an old git myself now, so I wouldn't be ageist, but a lot of elderly would have been sent away to live somewhere else. Because Ramsgate, I've got a war weekly newspaper, a national newspaper, and there's a double-page spread of Ramsgate damage, and it was actually listed as the heaviest bombed seaside town in Great Britain. Also, one raid only, we mentioned the Mad Mare about digging this tunnel. There was a squadron of aircraft flying across to flatten Manston. As you all know, Manston was the Spitfire base for the UK. It was a very important part of the war, and they're going to flatten it. Ramsgate's defence during the war, we had all guns all mounted on the cliff top. In front of the Wellington Crescent we had 2 battleship guns. They were not actually used in anger, but they did work. There'd be ACAT guns and all sorts of things on both cliffs. We didn't have enough guns to make it look so really as a defence thing, so we lined up sandbags and put telegraph poles on them so it looked like guns. So any of the enemy flying over, look at Ramsgate and say, "Oh, look at that lot, there's guns everywhere." Anyway, there's also proper soldiers here with guns. This squadron was flying over Ramsgate ready to flatten Manston, and somebody shot down the first aircraft, and that lot up. The rest of the squadron thought, that's not very nice. So instead of bombing Manston, they come back over the town, and in 5 minutes they dropped 500 bombs on Ramsgate. And it was described as the worst blitz in the world ever, and that was Ramsgate, it wasn't London. Can you imagine 500 bombs dropping in 5 minutes? That's what they did, and they just went back and did all that. During the First World War, we had a lot of bombings from the Zeppelins. This is one of the reasons why they developed these tunnels. On one occasion in the First World War, they hit a munitions dump on the harbour, and I've got a newspaper cutting of this, an original newspaper, and it states that Ramsgate's been totally bombed. It said that the sky in Ramsgate turned blood red when the explosion destroyed Ramsgate, but all they did was blew up a shed on the harbour. So a lot of our bombings, if you look at the history, if you're going to bomb a town, you would bomb the viaduct. If you look at our viaduct, it's not been touched. Woodford Avenue, which is to the side of it, and on both sides of the viaduct, there's bomb damage, lots of houses built. You bomb the gasworks. If you could hit the gasometer, you could take a huge chunk of the town out. They bombed Denmark Road and all the roads around it. All the houses got bombed. Denmark Road, just after the war, was full of prefabs because of the houses had been bombed. On the harbour, the seafront would be a natural target. We had a lookout tower in front of the Granville Hotel, and instead of hitting the wartime lookout tower, they flattened the corner of the Granville Hotel. On the seafront, instead of hitting HMS Fervent, which was a naval base, the railway station became a naval base during the war, instead of hitting that, they made a hole in our swimming pool. But that's the way it appeared that their attacks on Ramsgate were a bit like Dad's army, you know, a bit of hit and miss. As I say, we're 95 feet below the ground. We're now going to go on to Boundary Road. You've not got the luxury of lighting from now on, so if you let me come through, if anybody doesn't want to go, I'll put your torches on now. You'll be able to see. It's nothing scary. It's no different to the tunnel we've just been in. Apart from the fact there's no light.
And I had my tea.
Just hold on Sometimes you get
That's what up in the order is, no it isn't. Hey, order!
think he's been. They're just basically a bucket for the toilets with a curtain put in front of it for privacy. So as the chap said, you're up here getting bombed on the toilet, or you're down here getting bombed on the toilet.
Oh, this is
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know.
I'm going to have to go in.
Family photograph in front of the toilet. Couldn't switch the light. No, on the toilet.
Sorry. You're right. See that little, see the light shining through? That's the field of Boundary Road. If you just flip that lid, you're actually in a playing field. But we won't. We did that when we brought Academy FM down. There's 15 of them. They said, can we have a look out? So we flipped it. Can you imagine walking your dog on a nice quiet evening, suddenly this hatch flips up, and then 15 weird-looking meerkat people peering their heads over the hole, and then the hatch goes down again. That's why we don't do it now. Because the other thing is you don't have somebody standing on it, do you? It'd be funny, wouldn't it? You're standing on there and not noticing, and suddenly you're flying across the field.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh my.
And then it goes all the way up Ellington Road and it comes back and ends up near the hospital that used to be up Westcliff Road. If you look in that direction, there's a great chalk fall. We're convinced this goes back to the 1950s, and they were doing some work on the road and they dug a bit deep and it made that collapse. But as far as we know, it's not changed at all since 1950. So we're not going that way, mainly because you can't. But this is far enough. We're going to go up here around the corner. Although it looks initially there's nothing to your feet are okay. It's nice and flat, but there's some rubble on either side. So use your torches, and watch where you work. There's a tin bath on the side. We thought we'd leave that there because it's a bit long way to probably wash your feet. Anyway.
Where's there's shoes. There's old shoes and there's a bike seat.
Just one now.
I don't think you've ever experienced total darkness in your life. When you switch the lights off at bedtime, there's always the light shining in, isn't there? Are you all willing to switch your lights off at the same time? Right, you ready? Switch them off now. Everybody.